Welcome back to Easy Friday. I'm Shiksha Arora, and of course, tonight on my hot seat, I've got two very talented individuals. They are known as Unganisha Together, and I'm going to be introducing them right now. That's got Labdi Omes, and of course, we've got Bernd Isak, who's Norwegian, and he features, he does a little bit of electronic experiential music, if I'm not wrong, and our beautiful Labdi, who's a Kenyan musician, who focuses in, being the vocalist of this particular band, or duo.
Yeah,
as I like to call it.
Yes, yes.
And you guys have a very exciting project coming up. It is called Mbilimbili.
Yes, it's actually out already.
It is?
Yes.
And maybe you can tell me more about that. We're going to be playing it in a bit. Kojax has the tracks ready, so we're going to be listening to it together, and you're going to get a chance to listen to Mbilimbili as well. There's 3 very incredible tracks, so I'm sure you're going to enjoy it as much as I already have. So yes, maybe we can start off with you, Labdi. Why the name Mbilimbili for the debut album?
Actually, Bernd is in charge of naming projects. He named us also.
Interesting. So they're both Kiswahili words, Unganisha as well as Mbilimbili, which is your album name.
Yes, and our EP was called Kucheza, so
wow,
well done.
Bernd.
Well done to Bernd. Yeah, Mbilimbili it really just represents the duality of Unganisha. He's from different cultures, different backgrounds, and all of that. And then in the album, we're trying to speak about different things. I mean, the happy moments that we have and the sadness, and to realize that these 2 things can exist at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's what inspired the name Mbilimbili.
Okay. What about you, Bernd? Why all these Kiswahili names, firstly?
I don't know. I guess it felt like a way of approaching or getting into the Kenyan culture, and kind of like, yeah. I mean, it could have been Norwegian names as well.
Okay.
I don't have a very good answer for it, except it just felt natural at the time. And then I guess also because Labdi is the singer, and then so the language that she's singing is either Swahili or Luo. Yeah. So then it feels natural that it would have been a bit weird if the titles were in Norwegian and then she's singing Luo.
I get it.
Or maybe it would have
maybe we should try. I think we should try.
For the next one, right? That's a fantastic idea. How did you 2 meet?
Well, we met in 2016 at The Alchemist, of course.
Wow, we love that.
Yeah. So we were introduced by a mutual friend. I'd already started coming to Kenya for a few years, but mostly going to Mombasa. So I was just interested in getting into the music scene in Kenya, see what's going on, and then so I think I just saw on Facebook, like, oh, you have a musician friend in Nairobi, please connect us. So, yeah, we just met up, had a coffee, and chatted about music for a few hours. And I think the idea came out, like, maybe we can try collaboration or something. Started sending some voice notes on WhatsApp, and then, yeah, the rest is history, I guess.
Beautiful, what a story. And it's interesting because I think just a few weeks ago, there was a similar combination that went viral, Mwaki, the song.
Yes.
We had a Brazilian producer, and then obviously Kenyan vocalist, Sophia Nzau, and they came together, and then magic happened. So I feel like when a Kenyan artist meets somebody who's not Kenyan from around the world, I find there's something special about it. I feel like Kenyan vocals, she sings in Luo, right? You said that.
I do. Yeah.
That's very special because I feel like similar to Sophia, she sang in Kikuyu.
Yes.
And the sound of it is just so refreshing. People around the world are like, wait, what language is that?
Exactly.
Is that South African? A lot of people thought it was South African for some reason. And it's so nice to finally have the Kenyan dialects, that we have so many of them in Kenya, so many different languages from the different tribes actually being represented. And I'm so happy to know that you actually sing in Luo.
Yes, I do.
Why is that? Is that something that you're very intentional about? Maybe, you resonate more with singing in Luo compared to Swahili or English?
Well, whenever I'm collaborating, I try to be my most authentic self, and for a collaboration to be successful, I often believe that you have to bring your truest self, and my truest, most authentic self is the Luo that is Labdi. Therefore, I write nowadays I try to write in English sometimes, but when we're beginning, I was so anti-singing in English because I felt like some of the words did not resonate, some of the emotions did not resonate. When like there's words in Swahili that you cannot translate into English, right? Yeah. Like kumbe, like how do you even tell someone what kumbe is? Ati, Yeah. So it really just was, it wasn't intentional, it just came naturally because that's who I am. And then also because I play a traditional instrument, the language is often complementary to the traditional instrument, the urutu. So that's how it came to be.
Okay, we love that. And what about you? You know, we understand that there's, as she's mentioned, she plays instruments. So what exactly is the kind of feel for the music that you guys are putting out here? In your debut album, are you having a collaboration of the vocals with like electronic music, you know, maybe some instruments here and there? What exactly can viewers really expect when they listen to your song, and what do they get out of it?
Well, it's a mix of a lot of different genres, because like we have two working philosophies. One is anything goes, and the other one is it's never that serious. So I mean, it's quite eclectic, and the album maybe even more, because when you have like 11 songs instead of just one single, you get to express yourself in more different ways. You get to experiment a bit more. We even have a ballad. I don't think we would ever put out the ballad as a single, you know.
100%, yeah.
It's also interesting that this album has more acoustic instruments or traditional instruments than before. I play bass and guitar. We had two amazing percussionists based in Norway, Siddiqui Kamara from Mali and Anne Marte Sørlin Holen, who's a classic percussionist. And of course we have a song with the amazing Kosiva Mutua, who's based here. But yeah, also in this album, Labdi was also starting to produce, so most of the album is co-produced. So I think that has also affected the sound in a way. Yeah.
Okay. And how has the reception been so far? Like, you know, what have you felt? Like, have the audiences received it well? Are you getting positive feedback? Because maybe that's something that, you know, is encouraging for you to know that, wow, people are liking it, people are listening to it.
I think because we speak into two different territories, like Norway and Kenya are our biggest territories, and for sure Norwegians are crazy about Unganisha. Like our last concert, which was our album release concert for Oslo World, it was crazy. We had to run away from stage because they kept on screaming encore. We went back, we played the song, and someone carried him, and it's like, you have to go back on the stage. And I just like, when we were just about to finish the very, very last song, I just grabbed him and I was like, let's go.
Wow.
We literally had to run off stage.
I can't believe that.
People had started taking off their t-shirts and be like, ah.
What?
Yeah.
You know?
So I love that for you though. The love is real.
Yeah, no, really, we've received so much love on that end, and we're also receiving a lot of love here as well. It's, you know, the industry is also really growing, and our music is genreless, I'd say that. So I think it might take a bit more time for people to get into the tune, but we're getting really good results, to be honest,
And especially when people come to our live shows, because they might find it a bit hard to place because it's a bit genreless, so it's not Amapiano, it's not Gengiton, it's not
exactly, what is it?
Yeah. But then when they come to the show, they're just like, they forget all about that and they just enjoy the music.
Themselves.
Yeah.
Speaking of your live performance, you have one that's upcoming.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
It's on Sunday. It's at Shelter, which is in Electric Avenue.
Yes.
Yeah, next to Havana. So it's like a small staircase.
Westlands.
In Westlands, yes.
Right.
So we are joined by an amazing DJ, Sense, who's going to start warming up from 6 p.m. and then we go on at 8.
Okay.
And that will be 8, not like...
It will be 8.
Not Kenyan timing.
It's going to be
8 on the dot.
Yes. And then also it's a Sunday. We want people to go home early. So it's going to be 1 and some minutes show, and then a bit of a DJ set afterwards, and then guys can go home and sleep and eat ugali or whatever.
We love that.
But it's going to be a party. It's just going to be very compressed. It's going to be 4 hours of party and then done.
Okay, we love that. Yeah. You know, in terms of the music industry here, we have bands that have been doing extremely well. Yes. But I've never seen a band of 2 people in Kenya, and I think that's something that's very new and it's very fresh and it's very interesting. Is it that the 2 of you decided that, you know, you gel so well that you don't want to have a 3rd person or a 4th person, or like, how did you guys come to be, and how did you decide that, okay, it's just us 2, we want to keep it at that? Did you ever want to maybe add some more people into the band? Because I feel like when you have more than 2 people, it always works out, because you have 3 people, 4 people, 5 people sometimes. And I feel like those bands are always given more love. And I feel like, especially here in the Kenyan market, rather. So even Matata, for instance, there are like 4 of them, right?
Or
5.
5.
7.
Well, I know 4. Maybe there are 5 or 6. But yes, there's a couple of them. Saudi Soul, for instance, there are 4 of them. So why 2 people?
Yeah, it's more money for us. No.
Perfect answer. Spoke like a true Kenyan.
No, I think it just, that's how it started, you know, because we didn't have a plan when we started. We didn't think this was going to be something. I think it was an experiment for both of us, like, oh, let's see what's happening. I had never produced before, so it was like a new for me. We just wanted to have like it was more like a playground in a way. That's
interesting.
Let's try some different things.
Experimenting.
And, completely free. So I think then that's why it's natural that it's the two of us at the core. But I mean, since we are Unganisha, we also enjoy like bringing in other people. Like Kasiva has been featured on 3 songs. We have also some future collaborations going on. So, I mean, we're open to that. But I think the core will
always be the two of you.
Yeah, because that's the foundation, you know.
Okay, nice. Yeah. And you mentioned collaborations. So any new exciting collaborations with Kenyan artists that you would love to do in the future, or maybe something in the pipeline? Tell us more.
Right now, I mean, because we just released an album, we're actually trying to rest. We are doing our best to rest.
It's very important.
You know, we said after Blankets, it's till January, you know, hopefully. But there's a lot of artists who are so talented. And then luckily enough for us, we just don't play, you know, as a duo. We also have multiple projects. Like he has a lot of collaborations going on.
Oh, nice.
I'm trying not to have as many collaborations, but I am a solo artist as well, and I would love to collaborate with a lot of Kenyan artists because the pool is beautiful. Yeah. You know, there's so many talented people. For example, you have a solo project with Kasiva that you're working on that's really good.
Yeah, which is like, I mean, it's following the same idea in a way as Unganisha, but it sounds very different. So much more purely percussive in a way, or more traditional in a sense, but it's still like the mix of the electronics and different sounds. So yeah, I always find it like very interesting to work with new people. I find that it's like the joy of like exploring new sounds and these things. You go into the studio, you have no idea what's going to happen, and then you come out, it's like, ooh, where did this come from?
Yeah,
and then
magic happens.
Yeah, and especially working with both Labdi and Kasiva, they're both similar in that way. Like I'm constantly blown away. I'm like, I made a beat, for instance, and they come in and do some vocal things. I'm like, where did this thing come from? Like I would have never, you know. And that's that's like something I'm chasing all the time, I think.
Okay, lovely. You mentioned you're performing at Blankets.
No, we're not performing at Blankets. We're going to have fun at Blankets.
Oh, I was like, okay, when did that happen?
No, it's hopefully soon.
One day.
One day soon, but yeah. It'll happen in its time.
Oh, absolutely, it will. And I feel like you best believe it will, because this album, I do know that we've got some gems in there, which we'll listen to in a bit. Yeah. You know, let's talk a bit about your early childhood, Labdi. Did you always imagine yourself as being an artist, a singer?
My early childhood.
Yeah.
My heart was like...
No. I'm not going to ask you the tough questions.
So the question was whether I thought I was going to be a musician.
Is that something that you were always interested in growing up? Were you always the child who was like leaning towards music, maybe going for choir practice? Because sometimes when you know, as early as 5 years old, like you're always the child who's always singing, taking part in all these different music festivals. So did you have that in you?
No.
Really?
Not at all. I was not singing. I didn't even think I could sing.
What?
My coming into music was very late, actually. It was in high school, and I remember I was writing for a girl band, and I used to write songs for them, and the lyrics and the melody. But when they used to sing it, I was like, that's not what I said, you know?
Yeah.
So then after high school, I decided to try and, you know, go to a vocal academy, and I went to the vocal academy just for fun. I kind of tricked my dad into paying for it. He was not very happy, but he had to. He doesn't like debt. So he paid for it, and I was just like, maybe I can sing. And they were quite delighted with my voice. Just not enough to make me graduate, but it was good enough for me. Got into uni. The thing that I used to do, though, I've done since I was 3 years old, is draw. I'm a very good artist.
Okay.
A fine artist. I draw very well. So when I was in uni, I had some units in music, because you have to complete like 47 units in you. And then you had to pick another course to finish those units, and I picked music, and I was like, that's the closest thing that I've tried. I've dabbled a little bit into this. It was really fun, and then I met the urutu, the instrument, and I was like, I'm going to learn how to play that. And I come from a somewhat musical family, not really directly through my granddad, but my granddad's brother all his grandkids are musicians and artists. So there was a bit of a background there, and my uncle was just like, I think you should continue singing. And the late Ayub Ogada was like, I think you can sing. Keep singing. I was like, if Ayub thinks I can sing,
I can sing.
I can sing. It's Ayub, you know. So that's how I got into music.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. What about you? How did you end up, making music?
Well, I wasn't given that I was going to end up being a musician.
Okay.
I could have been maybe an engineer or some other kind of creative things, working with graphics or something. I do a lot of work quite interdisciplinary outside of Unganisha, so I'm very restless and are excited about exploring new things, not just new collaborations. But I have been working creatively since a small age, and played in bands as long as I can remember, and being part of school performances and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't see. I made a decision around secondary school. I think will be the equivalent here to kind of go towards engineering, and then I changed my mind in the last minute. And then since uni, I haven't really looked back. It was never any alternative. Okay. I don't know. It just feels like I would have been miserable doing anything else.
Did you go to any, maybe school that teaches you music, or did you get any sort of formal training?
Yeah, so I studied, I was in a marching band, playing the trumpet actually.
Wow! Did you know that?
No.
We have this also cultural school that's outside the normal school system where you can learn. So I learned guitar there. And then I studied music technology in university. So then you get quite diverse introduction to a lot of music topics, both traditional, but also programming and a lot of different things. Also a lot of different music genres or more experimental stuff that I didn't know about. And then I was also part of a student radio for 7 years, and I think that was as important for my musical development as music technology, because there was 20 music nerds that were the only thing they wanted to do was tell you about the latest artist they come across. And this was some years back, so it wasn't as easy to find everything back then.
Yeah. Labdi, who was your role model inspiration growing up when it comes to, music?
Because I didn't grow up wanting to be a musician. In fact, it was a shock to everybody, including myself. I'm like, woof, whoa, But I'd say I've had so many amazing influences. Ayub has to be one of them. Susanna Owio has to be one of them.
Susanna's amazing.
Isn't she just
She is just so gifted.
Extraterrestrial.
Right, that's the word. That's a good word.
Right? And I've listened to, growing up I listened to very many different kinds of music. My dad used to listen to Franco, Koffi Olomide. My mom had a great taste in music.
So very diverse.
Very diverse, My granddad was always playing Mozart for some reason. He still does. So, yeah, my influences, I've picked a lot of influences from everywhere.
Would you ever want to collaborate with the likes of Okello Max?
The likes of... What? If I'm not already in his DM. Okello.
Okay.
Hello. I love him. He's so fun. No, I'm Shiksha, I'll tell you for a fact, the musicians we have right now...
They're so talented.
So gifted. And this is literally just the top. What's happening underground is juicy and so nice. So I'm really excited to collaborate with anyone who's fun to collaborate with, because one of our biggest rules is to only work with people who are excited to work with us.
Yeah.
Not, contracts are great, but it's not going to be like a fight, and we don't like that at all. Yeah.
I really like that, Labdi. And what about you, Bernd? Any exciting, collaborations that are something that you really want to do? Well, of course, she mentioned Okello Max. I mentioned Okello Max because we love Okello Max. What about you? People who you're really interested to work with in Kenya, could be anywhere in the world, actually. And maybe you can also mention some of your influences growing up, musical influences that have really inspired you to make the kind of music that you make today. Yeah,
maybe I start with the influences.
Yes.
So I really wanted to be Slash in Guns N' Roses when I was growing up. So I wanted to be a guitar hero.
Okay.
But I also got a lot of inspiration from, my dad had a huge record collection, so I got introduced to the Beatles and
the Beatles,
Pink Floyd and Frank Zappa. It's quite diverse range of alternative rock music. And then I think one of a pivotal album and band was definitely Radiohead with OK Computer when that came out, and was like, oh, this is kind of like rock, but like with weird sounds, and they're like using the guitars and effect pedals in different ways. And I think that was the starting point of me like not rehearsing the guitar so much and starting to like fiddle around with the effect pedals instead. But yeah, and then I think it was really in uni studying music technology and especially being in the student radio, as I mentioned, like really like expanded my horizon. And realizing that there's like amazing country music, there's amazing reggae music, you know, there's amazing music in all kind of genres. So maybe not just the music that you heard. And I think that the last kind of piece of the puzzle, which is what landed me here eventually, was in 2009 I was in Ethiopia recording an album that I produced with Norwegian and Ethiopian musicians. So I got introduced to Ethio jazz and the traditional music there, and that really like fueled my interest for East African music, and that's why I searched for musicians in Kenya when I came here. It's like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And the first one that you landed on is the one you collaborated with.
Yeah, it's like,
He didn't even look for other options. He's just like, this is it.
I don't need to go searching.
This is it. I found the one.
Yeah, when you strike gold immediately, like why do you want to go looking for silver? You know, that's no point.
Gold.
No point.
You are a golden girl.
Thank you.
I can't think of any like immediate people, like specific people.
Yeah,
I mean,
that you'd love to work with.
Yeah, I already have the collaboration with Kasiva that I'm really excited about. I also have a collaboration with the producer Mr. Lou, so we have like a collab album thing that we're working on.
Lovely.
But yeah, in general, like I'm also like I love doing new collaborations and that feeling of just going into the studio and not knowing what's happening. I've also been doing like very avant-garde free improvisation for many years, and that's the whole thing. You go on stage, you have no plan, and you just see what happens. So I think that it's that's frightening to a lot of people, but for me that's where I feel most safe and most at home, because you can't do wrong. You can't do a mistake. That's much better.
Okay. As we wrap up, you know, any message for your fans, for your listeners, people who are watching this right now, and maybe you'd like to say something to them as we wrap up, and then we get to your music immediately.
Yes, we have amazing merchandise coming out, and we keep saying that we'll bring it, but we always forget to.
Yeah.
We have limited edition vinyl for our album.
Okay.
So we have just 9 copies left in Nairobi for now. So come to the show and get yourself a copy. It's very affordable according to vinyl rates. Come to the show on Sunday, starts from 6 p.m. Tickets are 1,200 between now and Sunday, 5 p.m.
Okay.
So, and find us on social media.
Yeah. Unganisha Music is our handle at TikTok, at Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And Coljax, are we ready? We're ready. Okay, so it's time. We can maybe just stand up and vibe a little bit, because I think it's very important. Coljax? me to say goodbye to you. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. This is Unganisha. Asante sana for coming on the show. We'll do this next week, same time, same place. Until then, don't go anywhere. Koljaks with some Fire Friday music all the way until 12:30. Disco funk it is. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.